Hey, what's up, everybody? BDO 44 coming into another video. Think about Jalen Suggs because he's been going through some serious injury issues over there in Orlando, and they have a logjam of guards. Markelle Fultz is stepping forward. He looks like a great version of himself. Anthony's been dealing with injuries as well, but we know how talented he is. And they have some other guards back there as well, with Jonathan Isaac stepping forward. They're going to want to run a large lineup, and they have a bunch of large players to keep in that lineup. So Isaac more so fits in that lineup than they do, than Suggs and Anthony. And so Suggs is a player whose value is extremely low right now because of those injuries and because of how he's coming back slowly from injury, for which obviously he's going to shake off, and when he gets in shape, he's going to be a fantastic player. But if you are to assume he's going to be injury prone, or if you are to assume he's not going to develop properly, maybe if you're Orlando, you don't mind moving on from him, given the fact that you have an identity of being such a large team and you have so many guards. You only got but so much money to pay people, and you still could potentially find yourself with a lottery pick that could be really good right now if this team doesn't make the playoffs. So what I'm saying is, if I'm the Orlando Magic, moving on from Jalen Suggs at this price may not make any sense at all. But if somebody's willing to pay me for him in a price that I like, I probably would part with him. Now that's the thing. If you're a team that wants to get a player like that, you understand you're bringing him in at a low value, but you may have to actually overpay to get him off of Orlando in that situation anyway. Because at the end of the day, he was the fourth pick in the draft just 2 years ago, and it's widely understood that he's extremely talented, so it's about him getting in shape. And so their argument could be, no, we're going to hold on to this player and see where it goes from here, and try to trade him at a higher point. But if they don't have the role, or if other guys are going to step in front of him, you can't have the fourth overall pick busting on you if you're the Orlando Magic. That can't happen. Especially when you can move him for something at this price if you think it's going to go downhill in the short term from here. And I say in the short term because they're going to have to get to a point where they're going to have to negotiate with him. You know, it's not right now. It's not. I don't think it's next year, but they're going to get to a point where they have other players to keep, and then they're going to have to negotiate with him. And so they may want to part ways with that right now. They may want to just get that problem off of their hands. So I would be openly inquiring. Obviously, I'm a Laker fan. I don't think we really have anything that they would want in that regard. I don't. To get the fourth overall pick 2 years ago, it's a pipe dream for me. I would try to see what, knock on the door, see what they're talking about. I don't think the Lakers would want to give up a first round pick for him. I don't think they'd want to. I don't know that it wouldn't make sense to do so anyway, given the fact that if your pick ain't going to be higher than the fourth pick, then it's going to be probably equivalent to what he would be for you in the length of time anyway, because he's obviously in his second year now. He's a kid, so it's not like you're taking back something that's going to potentially be leaving anytime soon necessarily. I don't know if you would be able to acquire his bird rights in the situation. I don't know how that works. I honestly don't. But I would try to negotiate to make sure that would be the case if I were trying to acquire him for any team. So I think teams should kick the can. The Clippers are a team, not just the Lakers, the other LA team as well, because I know they're looking for a point guard. That's a point guard a lot of teams can afford to get, man, and he's going to potentially bloom into something very, very special. So if you expect that, or if you think you can develop him into that more so than the Orlando Magic, maybe you want to take on that responsibility. So I just think it makes a lot of sense. I look at a team like Orlando. I mean, no, it's not Orlando. What am I talking about? Washington. The Washington Wizards. That's someone who should be looking at Jalen Suggs, trying to get him up out of there. They got the picks to get him if they can afford to move on from picks more so than, say, my squad can. So, sometimes I think about players that may be on their way out the door. I look at like Chris Paul or in Phoenix. Phoenix may want to try to bring in the successor to Chris Paul soon. That should be something they're thinking about right now. And I know his contract's hefty, which is why I would be trying to get Jalen Suggs if I were them, because he's still on a rookie contract. I would definitely try to get him if I were them, but I don't know if they have the trade equity. I don't know. So this is just something I've been thinking about, man, because he is struggling, and it's hard to get him back on the floor because of how their team is constructed, and what it's looked like it's going to be constructed going forward is it's not going to really be room for him to ever bloom into the player that he's supposed to be. Not in Orlando, not at all. I don't see the path to that in any way, shape, or form, unless they plan on moving on from Fultz and Anthony. And the way Fultz is playing, he's a desirable piece too. That's what it really comes down to. maybe they move on from Fultz since his value's already high, and they've been waiting on his value to bloom. But the way that he's playing, I wouldn't move on from him. I wouldn't. That boy's gonna be an all-star. I see him turning into what it is people thought he was gonna turn into. Right now, it's happening. So it's one of those situations where it's like, all right, Orlando, you can hold on to these guards, but at the end of the day, they're not going to bloom into what it is they're supposed to. Not what it is that other teams can take them and turn them into if they have starting roles. Not a chance. Because you just have too many large forwards. You want to put the ball in Bowles' hands and put the ball in obviously, Banchero's hands clearly, Franz Wagner. I mean, that's where the money's going. So everybody else who's trying to get paid on that team, the money ain't there. They're gonna have to pay those guys. So that's just the truth. So yeah, Orlando's situation is interesting. I don't think there's a time like this as it pertains to them having to do this now. I don't think there's any rush for them to move. Looking at their timeline, they can afford to let this season complete and then focus on this at the off season or even next deadline if they want. But it's just something. If I'm a team that sees the opportunity to get a player at that level while he's not playing well, I'm always looking for a buy low candidate. I'm always looking for a guy that's struggling really, really bad, and then looking for a place where he can actually find a role and maybe a little more rope to take some, take time to learn or whatever. So Orlando's timeline fits. Don't get it twisted. They're all young players. And they may end up losing Franz Wagner or Banchero or something like that. They may not be able to keep those guys, so it might be wise to keep some talent there. You don't want to just assume you're going to be able to hold on to all those guys. But I think they will. My gut tells me they're not going to lose Bobo, Franz Wagner, Banchero. Those three will be there. That's what my gut tells me. There's no way they're letting those three go. So, yeah, that's what I got to say, man. Kick the tire, however you say that, on Jalen Suggs or some of those other guards that they got in Orlando, because there should be a path to maybe get those players. And the significance of that is I always talk about how you get lottery picks. How do you get lottery picks if you don't have them? How do you find yourself with what they are equivalent to? Maybe even after they've been drafted, to which the value of the player would be that good, or the upside rather. So for me, it's like, this is how you do it. You look for these type of value. You look for these type of situations. Jalen Suggs struggling with injury issues. It's early, right? Yeah, cool. Let's get him. Why? Because I know of a guy by the name of Michael Jordan who had a knee injury in his second year, didn't play his entire second year season. So that's why I always look for situations like this. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. You think I'm deterred by year 2 injury? Not me. So that's one of those situations. I just think Jalen Suggs is an extremely easy player to identify. You can bring him to a starting situation, and just wait on him. Just wait on him to turn into it, and watch him grow. That's simple as that. So that's what I got to say about the situation. My name is BDL44. I thank you all for watching.